Today, I'm sorry.
I told you they're mushies.
Yeah, we are. We're nervous mushies, that's all.
Don't
So, today is Friday, April 27th, 2007, and we're interviewing John Goosman in his home. Mr. Goosman is 55 years old and was born on June 3rd, 1951. My name is Brooke Buckway, and I'm the interviewer. Mr. Goosman is a friend of mine.
Boy.
Mr. Goosman, could you please state for the record what war and branch of service you were serving in?
I served in the United States Army from October 10th, 1969 until January 26th, 1972.
And
I was with the 1st Air Cav Division in the Republic of Vietnam from February of 1970 to February of 71.
all right. How old were you when you went to Vietnam?
18.
And why did you enlist?
Because I didn't like my daddy.
Did propaganda convince you in any way to enlist, or was there any specific type of propaganda during that time that made you want to?
If there was, I wasn't aware of it.
Why did you choose to join the Army?
To get away from my family environment.
But why not something else like the Navy, for instance?
Because my old man was in the Army.
Oh.
And my grandfather.
So you were just following then?
Well, I wasn't raised with my father, so.
No. Did any of your friends enlist with you?
No.
Alright. Did you go through any tough training before you left for the war?
Tough training?
Or any type of training at all?
You go through military basic training at Fort Lewis, Washington. Then you go through what they call AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, which was Helicopter Maintenance and Repair School, Fort Rucker, Alabama, for about 8 weeks. And then you do OJT, which is on-the-job training in the Republic of Vietnam, working under a master mechanic for a few months, and then you become either a crew chief or a door gunner on an aircraft.
And like what type of training did you specifically have to go through on a daily basis?
Well, basic training, you go through basic military training, combat survival, first aid, infantry maneuvers, combat tactics, obstacle courses.
Were any of those difficult for you?
Yeah, I couldn't climb a rope. 80 feet.
Oh, wow.
With knots, they have knots every 5 feet, and you're supposed to climb up as high as 80 feet. Most guys could do 10, 20 feet. Some guys just didn't have enough upper body strength. And they pick on you when you don't successfully maneuver the obstacle.
Do you think that your training prepared you for the war in any way? Or was it helpful in certain areas but not helpful in others?
Helpful in physical and demanding situations. The physical toughness that you need in that environment is extreme when you're dealing with weather environment, terrain, wild animals, bugs, malaria, poisonous snakes, all that fun stuff. So yeah, they train you well.
Do you think that it at all prepared you emotionally for what you were going to go through?
Nope. Nobody's ever emotionally prepared for combat. If they say they are, they're fibbers.
When you left, did you think that you were going to see your family again?
Nope.
Okay.
When I received what they call a manifest, which is like an airline ticket to get on that aircraft, most of us said this was a death certificate. So once you received that and you knew you were going, you just assumed that you weren't coming back. That was the emotional way of dealing with the circumstance of being in the war.
Did your family at all try to stop you from going?
Nope.
Did you have a sweetheart while you were in service?
No. Before I left, I did, but not.
What did you do during your years of service, and did you have any, and during your free time, what did you do exactly? Free time? Like, did you have any free time?
You don't have any free time in combat.
So the entire time you're just working and training?
Well, yeah, you do. You write letters to your family, you spend a lot of time drinking. Some guys, had other activities that they did, but mostly what I did was fly what they fly different combat missions. I was an aircraft mechanic and a door gunner on a utility helicopter called a UH-1H Iroquois, or nickname was a Huey or a Slick was the common name for it. And these particular aircraft did different kinds of missions during the day. They had several kinds of operational missions that they had to perform. And the most common one was combat assaults. You did medical evacuations of the wounded in the field. You did resupply missions for ammunition and food and water for the infantrymen. You did flare missions at night when the enemy would be attacking the soldiers in their fire bases. You would fly up 2,000, 3,000 feet and you would drop what they call these flares out so that the combat soldiers on the ground could catch the enemy attacking them. So, and then you had all kinds of intel missions. You had combat insertion missions, which were like what they call SOGs or special ops, where you're dropping special forces or recon troops in behind enemy lines, and they're doing reconnaissance, trying to find out where the enemy is, and basically doing a survey of what position the enemy is, so you knew how to arrange your battle for the following combat missions.
Was it hard to spot the enemy, saying that the Vietcong dug all those different tunnels? So was that difficult?
They were very crafty people. Yes, my unit, which was the 1st Cav Division and especially the 227 Assault Helicopter Battalion, our responsibility was patrolling the Cambodian border right up on what they call the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And what would happen is, because on the borderline, as the enemy would come across Cambodia into Vietnam, they would engage us in combat, and then they would retreat back over the border, knowing that we couldn't cross the border to finish attacking them. So we would patrol that borderline and try to catch the enemy before they got to retreat back into Cambodia. And then that's what they call the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which was basically the major supply line that came from China through Laos, Cambodia, down into Vietnam. It was their major supply chain for the North Vietnamese. And our job was to destroy that trail and to make sure that the enemy didn't have very good access to it. So we would blow it up during the day, and then they would rebuild it at night. So it was always a reciprocal mission.
And so specifically, like, what was your job then?
I was a door gunner, primarily.
And what is that exactly?
Well, you have machine guns sitting on the side of a door of a helicopter. My job was to protect, to suppress the enemy fire and to protect the infantrymen, soldiers, because they're very vulnerable. When the helicopter comes in to make a landing on a combat assault, it's very vulnerable for the infantrymen can spread out and get ground cover and protect themselves from the enemy fire. So what I would do is I would suppress the enemy fire into the tree lines to give the chance for the infantrymen to crawl out of the helicopter and establish what they call a baseline or a fire line. So it was my job to protect them when they were at their weakest point.
Was there a time where you and your men were severely attacked?
Oh, we were constantly being shot at daily.
Was there ever like a specific time though where there was like a major attack?
Well, there were different offenses, but there were no real major battles. That were what they would call mostly they were small engagements. You know, like a firefight. We didn't call them battles. You know, there were very few large battles in the Republic of Vietnam during the whole time. They were mostly what they call firefights or ambushes. It was a small amount of the enemy attacking. And then we did have what we call the Cambodian invasion, which was a major invasion, and that was a large battle going in because we were establishing a whole new combat zone going into Cambodia, and that was during 1970 when President Nixon gave us, because remember when I said earlier, the enemy was allowed to come out from Cambodia into Vietnam, attack, and then run across the border. We couldn't pursue them. So President Nixon did what they called the Cambodian invasion, and that started in the spring of 1970, and that was a major battle like you would see in, because you're establishing a whole new battlefield, a whole new area of what they call an AO, or area of operation.
Oh wow.
So the Cambodian invasion was one of those few battles that a lot of people were sacrificed to establish that. new battlefield.
Was it worth it in the end, do you think?
Well, I don't like to think that 58,146 men died for nothing. 2.7 million people served, 38,000 severely wounded. I would not like to think that their blood was wasted in vain. I know that I have a lot of Vietnamese friends here, and they are proud and grateful for the service that we provided to them. The American veterans here, the Vietnamese that live here in Southern California, show more respect and honor towards the Vietnam veterans than their own citizens do, because they understand the value of blood and the sacrifice that they paid for their freedom.
Was there ever a time where you were severely wounded?
Yep, that's enough. Go on. We're done. We don't go there.
Did you win any medals during service?
Yes, I did, and we don't go there either.
All right. Do you mind saying how many you won?
It's not a matter of winning, because it's not a win. Medals are not. This is a very sensitive subject to me, because to me my heroes are on the wall. They're not here. They're not living. My heroes are names that you guys read on a wall in D.C., the War Memorial. To me, those are human beings. They had mothers, they had fathers, they had aunts, they had uncles, they had cousins, they had children, they had wives. My heroes are the wives, the children, the parents of the ones who lost a person in combat. And that's in any war. Those are my heroes. It's the people who had to live on once they lost a loved one. So there are no such thing as real heroes. There's just guys that have to do extraordinary things under severe pressure. When you just go into an automatic mode and you do what's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Would you consider or say that you are a hero to people?
Nope.
Why not?
Because I told you.
Okay.
You didn't hear me. I said my heroes are
yes, but I was
on the
wondering
wall.
if you considered yourself any type of hero just for serving at least.
I was just a dumb, naive kid doing what I had to do to survive. I wasn't even an adult, I was just a kid. I was a mushy-brained kid.
Was there ever a specific time during battle when you thought that you were going to die?
Oh yeah, more than once.
What do you think saved you? Was it your training or just...
Actually, I think that's more of a spiritual question than a physical question. Mm-hmm. I just believe that God protected me. There's no other explanation. See, when my helicopter shot down, and I was the only one that saw out of the sky and lived to talk about it. So, I give credit to God for that. We're electronically challenged in this home. We don't know how to turn that thing off.
Why did you come back to the States? Was it because your service time was over?
I came back to the United States. I still had 18 more months to serve my 3-year commitment to the military, and I spent most of that time in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, just basically as a training other people.
And why did you choose to train other people at that time?
Well, because the Army said I had 18 more months to do it. I couldn't go home.
So it wasn't your choice
No.
then to train? Okay.
You get orders from headquarters and then you do what you're told. There's no, you don't get to vote for your what you want to do in the military.
Was it easy?
You have to understand that a soldier or a military personnel is a piece of property. You are no longer a citizen of the United States. You give up your rights to the Constitution as a military member. They call you they call you GIs, and that stands for government issue. You have a serial number, which is just like a piece of property. You're an instrument of war or combat or service to your country. You're no longer, you're ruled under what they call a uniform military code of justice. So it's a different system.
Mm-hmm. And under that system, you had to do everything that you were told.
You do what you're told, and you don't get to ask why. You can't say, I got a better idea.
Was it easy for you to adjust to everyday life once you were back in America?
No.
What struggles did you have to go through?
Just long periods of depression and isolation, and because we weren't the war heroes of the Korean War or the wars of World War II. We didn't get to come home to a happy homecoming. We came home to a society that was basically divided. I call us the divided generation. You know, you had the hippies and the free love and the pot and crazy music, and then you had the conservative, you know, you had the guys with the short hair, Mom, Apple Pie, America, Johnny Cash, and then you had the long-haired, dope-smoking guys, you know, listening to Bob Dylan and you know, so it was a divided generation. It's still a divided generation today.
In what ways has the war overall affected your life? Has it, well, obviously it has changed things in the way you look at things, but in what specific ways?
What specific way has it changed my life? I don't think it's changed my life. I think it's helped define my life. My attitude is if a person were, let's say, you know, let's say that some people become alcoholics or use of drugs. I believe that whether they were in combat or whether they were not, or if they were civilians or if they were in the military, that type of person would have been that type of person whether they were in the military or not. Because I think that's more of a choice than it is oh geez, I'm a victim. Mm-hmm. I don't look at being a Vietnam veteran as a victim. I looked at it as a part of my destiny, and I think it helped define who I am today. And it gave me more strength and more courage.
Do you think you would have been a completely different person if it wasn't for you enlisting?
Can't answer that. I'm living the destiny that God chose for me.
In the end, are you glad that you enlisted?
Absolutely.
Or satisfied?
Yes.
Do you feel that you have accomplished one of the things that was part of your destiny?
Part of my destiny is in you know, when you have your friends die and you're holding them in your arms and they're looking straight at you and you see that they're drawing their last breath, and you carry that in your mind for the rest of your life, and you try to figure out, why was I the only person out of this group to survive? And it took me 25 years to fulfill my destiny, and that was to reach out to the families of these members. And I have a very strong relationship with the family members of the 3 men that died that day on that helicopter crash. And I have my pilot, who I was literally holding when he died, and he was looking straight at me. And I still see him at night. And his daughter is now my goddaughter. My daughter and his daughter are close friends. And she's found God through this whole thing. And she's found another guy that knew her dad. She has movies. She has photos of her father. She was 7 months old when he was killed. And she never knew who her father was. Her mother, his wife, ended up in a mental institution for 25 years, and she was bounced around from different family members through her whole childhood. And she was totally lost emotionally. And now she has half a dozen men that knew her father and flew with him. She has movies of him. She has pictures of him. She has a whole new family now. So, to me, that means more to me than any other thing that I could possess, humanly possess on this earth. Just knowing that she has come to peace with her father's sacrifice, and that she has a whole new family. She meets all the other pilots through the different reunions that are available to her. So it's really been an awesome experience. It was very painful for me. I went into a serious depression in 1996 when I first contacted her. I went into a real serious depression, and it brought back a lot of ugly things, because all the stories that I heard about her experiences and what she went through, and it was like, gosh, just because one person died, look at the tragedy of the life afterwards. And I got incorporated into that, and that was really too much for me to handle. And it took me about 4 years to deal with that before I could put it to peace. And now I realize it was the right thing to do. And it's given me a lot more peace today. So.
Do you have any other additional comments that you'd like to make for the people watching this?
I'm going to quote an old General Howard Moore, and I'm going to say, hate war, but don't hate the warrior. Don't take it out on the individual who's serving his country, and in his heart and in his mind, he thinks he's doing what's right for him, or he's following what's right, even if he doesn't feel that it's right, he's following the orders of his country, and he's giving up the sacrifice, and he's paying the price for us to have what freedom we do have. And it's not right to take it out on the individual. Take it out on the politicians. They're the ones who lost the war. So the soldiers did their job. They were very successful at it.
All right, well, thank you. This has been a wonderful interview, and we appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Good.
So what do you think? No retakes?
I think I want to do the beginning again because I think I left out some stuff that we needed to do because I forgot to say what our organization we're with.
Hey, Brooke, I mean, you have actually a lot in common, okay? And, you know, you can dig down, you know, since you've lived overseas for 12, you know, or 14 years, you know, him coming back, he went through culture shock. I mean, you can understand that completely, okay? I mean, that's what your own sister's going through right now, you know. I remember, you know, we just came back, Chelsea and I, her older sister just came back from Ukraine.
That's what I was, yeah, she told me a little
Chelsea said, you know, we've been back for 2 years, and Chelsea said, I can meet another American or a foreigner, you know, from any other country there, and we have camaraderie, immediate. Coming back here, she's here 2 years, and she goes, I still don't have a friend like that.
You know why? Because until you live in another country, you don't really understand what life's all about.
Right.
People, you know, I travel all over the world in business, and I know different cultures, and I know, you know, Americans are really isolated. They get tunnel brain. I call it, you know, I mean, it's all about...
It's Americanism.
Yeah, it's Americanism, and they don't understand that there's a whole world outside that radius.
Yeah.
You know, they think that they're you know, it's like a baby. When a baby's first born, a baby thinks that, you know, it only knows one thing. It's all about me. You know, and until Americans start traveling and going to seeing other cultures and living in an experience, and then you realize, I wish that we had a program where every teenager would have to go overseas for a year.
Like Germany. Yeah, well, they travel. Germans travel.
Well, foreign exchange programs. But I mean,
European.
almost like a mandatory program, because they would come back with a whole different attitude
Oh, definitely.
about this country.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you actually, you can feel basically what, you know, because he was there. You know, how many, I mean, here's the difference even between, sorry Amanda, but I'm going to kind of, I mean, how many people have you seen, you know, who've jumped out of buildings? How many? 3, 4, 5? People frozen to death on a, you know, a bench? How many people have we seen? You tell me. I mean, you stop counting. How many has she seen? 0. Okay.
there's a different value.
Yeah, and so you have a different value on the human being, you know, and so, you know, this is, while you're interviewing, you can even bring that out, that, you know, he has a completely different value. This is what Vietnam did for him. This is, you know, when he was talking about his destiny, you could talk about his destiny was set because of what, you know, even his experience in Vietnam. You know, when he was even talking about, you know, the helicopter, you know, coming down. Boy, you know, I'm over here with tears in my eyes, okay? Because I could feel that immediately.
Well, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go meet my friends. One of the things before we leave here.
Oh, really?
My 3 friends that were on that helicopter who passed away.
Oh, wow.
So that when you go to the wall and you look them
He
up,
has a
you're
wall.
not going to just think about a name. You're going to know
See
about
a face.
person.
Yeah.
You're going to know about who their family was, where they were raised, who they were, how many people have been saved since, their families have been saved since the experience. So we're going to do a little bit of that before we leave. I already got it all laid out for you.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
You're going to come out of this not just knowing about me, you're going to come out and know something about the war and the people that served.
Okay.
Okay?
That, We would both like that very much.
Okay.
All right.
So if you're done with your part,
Yes. Oh,
guys-
real fast though, I would like to just say this part over again because I forgot to say the people who are present at the interview because you guys, I forgot to say made and you, and that's very important.
Okay, but you know, I've been filming this whole, you know.
Yeah.
What about the part where we were laughing? And you're like,
Oh, that
"What?"
part too. You know, that
That's
part. You know,
part.
hey.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
a good part.
You can film over that part.
No, that's the part that makes us people.
People, yeah. You know,
That's what
again,
makes it genuine, and
Yeah.
it's not some canned thing that you see on NBC
Yeah.
or CNN.
I don't know if our teacher will like seeing people though. That's the only-
You see, because your I don't know, you go to a public school?
Yes.
See, your teachers have a different agenda with this whole program. They're trying to show the devastation of the veteran more so than the success of the veterans. Okay? And like, did you see any of the books on Vietnam? Have you ever seen any pictures or photos or that they use in school?
Yeah.
Do you see one of a young Vietnamese girl that was running down the hallway and was burned with napalm?
mhm.
Okay, that was Kim Phuc. Kim Phuc was bombed by the Vietnamese, not the United States. It was a Vietnamese group that did that whole thing, and I have the history and all that. There's so many myths and so many lies. Did you know that in the census, 2000 census in the United States, 13.8 million people attested that they were Vietnam veterans when only 2.7 million served. Okay.
Why would they?
One out of every 5 people that you meet, or 4 out of 5 people that you meet that say that they're Vietnam veterans are phonies. Okay, only 1 out of 15 ever saw any combat. Of the real Vietnam veterans, of all the Vietnam veterans that were in Vietnam, only 1 out of 15 ever saw any combat. Okay. Only 9% of the population of the time, 9.1% of the population served in Vietnam. Out of that, only 19% of those were draftees. 81% of the people volunteered. Only 6% of those were black minorities. So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of myths and a lot of lies. And I have, so we're gonna go. You're done with that?
Yep.
Okay, these are for you to keep.